Today's guest has one of those stories where food is really only part of the story. Chef Franco Lania is an award-winning master chef, author, culinary educator, and entrepreneur whose 30-year career has taken him from kitchens across the United States and Europe to Michelin-starred restaurants and luxury cruise lines. He's also a survivor of the September 11th attacks in New York City, an experience that became part of a much larger journey of healing, purpose, and faith. His memoir is Cooking Inspired: Design Your Dish, Design Your Life. And these days, he's also taking people straight to the source through his boutique travel company, Tavola Tours, offering culinary and cultural experiences in Italy. Let's welcome him to the show.
Well,
Hey,
hello and welcome.
nice to meet you.
As I, read your bio and got some of your background and everything, I kind of realized pretty quickly we could go in so many directions with this conversation. So
Wow.
I want to keep myself in check here, and I want to try and like kind of go in some kind of order so that I don't go off the rails because I can and will.
Okay.
I want to start with what feels like the obvious question. You're a chef. You have had this extraordinary culinary career, and yet you wrote a memoir instead of a cookbook. Can you tell me a little bit about the why of that?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, the reason why I decided to write a memoir is, well, twofold. One was many people who kind of like followed my journey, were in my life, were all telling me, one day you should write a book, you should write a book. And, people tell people to write a book often. And then I just kind of blew it off. And then as the years went by, I started to say, well, you know what, maybe I should journal some of this stuff down because some of it, maybe I can pass it on to my family and my daughter and things like that, all these experiences. And I started to journal things down. And then after 9/11, which I was a 9/11 survivor, I was evacuated out of Tower Number 2 on 9/11, and unfortunately, uh, that kind of like drove me to say, hey, you know what, you don't really have life short. All that kind of stuff started to enter my mind, like many people. And I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write this book, but I'm not going to make a cookbook. I'm going to make a memoir because there's plenty of chefs out there that can tell you how to make a recipe and do a really great job at it and have an awesome result and all that stuff. And I could do the same. But I had a vision and a voice inside me that wanted to come out to show people how food is not only something you can do in your pastime or for like a hobby. It can be something very spiritual and nurturing if looked at in a certain way, in a certain perspective. And that's really what my Cooking Inspired Design Your Dish, Design Your Life is all about, because there's a lot of invigorating energies as you approach a stove and as you get your mind nourished. And when you hit a problem, we know the first thing to go out the window is we don't eat right. So how are you going to get yourself together if you're not getting your brain nourished and all that? So I'm not saying you have to be a complete health food nut, but you got to at least approach the stove and cook something for yourself and get yourself out of that funk. And that's a way to start. So that was the book, was the premise of it. And then it turned into this, what people are saying is a beautiful memoir.
Oh,
So happy.
So everything you're saying resonates so much with me because I was raised, my grandmother was adamant about food and presentation and that food is an experience
Yeah.
and it's so much more than just calories, just consuming calories, that this food is an experience. And I think our society has such a hard time with their relationship with food. So I
Uh-huh.
really love your perspective on that and
Great.
the shifting of the mindset when we think about foods. Take me back a little bit. So before all the accomplishments, and there are quite a lot of them, and it's so impressive. The restaurants, Europe, all of this. What was it about food that first grabbed you? Was like cooking something that you always knew you were meant to do, or did that come later in life?
I really wasn't brought up in a household where cooking was a big thing, even though I'm an Italian American guy. I mean, it was just kind of like normal. Food was just like a normal thing. It wasn't like the big focal pinnacle moment like a lot of people think in an Italian home. And on Sundays, we had our traditional Sunday gravy or sauce, whatever you want to call it.
You're not going to jump into that debate?
No, that's a whole other podcast.
Mhm.
So like that, we had our traditional Christmas dinners and all that. But other than that, regular Monday through Friday during the school year was just like any other American. It wasn't really a really big deal. So, but my whole thing, how I fell into food was because my parents basically got divorced when I was going into freshman year in high school, and they had a really bad marriage and all that kind of stuff. And so when it was over, and I started to get a little bit of stray with a lot of all the other kids that were having problems in their homes, and you kind of like all huddle together and we'll just leave it at that. You get in trouble. So my dad, he eventually stepped in and he said, "Look, buddy, you have to get a job, and you need structure after school, and you can't keep hanging out with these guys." And blah 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 blah. And he took me to a local gourmet supermarket in New Jersey. It's called King's. It's like the precursor to
Mm.
Whole Foods.
Okay.
And they were hiring. It was summertime, and they were hiring. And I really didn't want. I mean, I didn't want to. I definitely didn't want to work at a supermarket of all places. But I went and he walks me right in, asked the manager for an application. Those days you had to fill everything out with a pen, and we filled it all out and handed it in. And 3 days later, I'm standing behind a deli counter calling numbers and cutting bologna. And 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 little by little in the book, I go very into this, just working with these people and working with this higher end clientele that were eating things that I never even knew existed, like lox and
Mm.
all different kinds of high end like salad, like German potato salad and all that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no idea.
Mhm.
So, and they actually made everything there. So they weren't just opening up bottles and pouring it in. Everything was made. They had chefs from the Culinary Institute of America and all
Wow.
that stuff. And that's what pulled me into food.
That'll
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, that must have been so wild to go into such a diverse food culture, really,
Yeah.
to, like you said, lox and
Yeah.
German bits. So I'm
So,
Cuban and German, so my
also,
food,
yeah,
yeah, I do. As soon as
yeah,
you said, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
yes,
when I tell people about like sauerbraten and things like that, they're like,
yeah.
what is
They're
that? So
yeah,
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 that had to be a little bit of a culture shock if you were used to just one style of food, right?
right. And delis were
Oh,
just like normal things. It was just, this was like a high upscale deli, it was more gourmet, and it was like,
sure.
just open up my palate. Yeah.
What a wonderful introduction to the world of food, of that
Yes.
experience. My goodness. I told you before we started, I love food, every ethnicity, style, everything. I love all of it. I should be like 800 pounds.
Oh
I
God, thank
just
God you're
should be.
not.
Yes, thank goodness. That would
Yes.
be not fun.
Oh no, no.
But now you've worked in, besides that one, of course, that was the start, but you've worked in some really impressive culinary environments. What does working at that level teach you that has absolutely nothing to do with cooking?
Well, I think when you're working at a high level, like if you're working at a 3-star restaurant in New York City or Miami, or I was out in Milan working at a one or it was I think it was a 2 Michelin star back then. It's 1 Michelin star now. Sadler Ristorante in Milano. When you're working at that level, it's like very military. It's very
Mhm.
disciplined, and everything is very organized and very structured. And for someone like me that was coming from no structure and very wayward and looking for every excuse to like not be accountable and all that stuff. I mean, in the kitchen, the minute you make a mistake, all eyes are on you. I mean, it's you.
Mhm.
You burned it, you forgot it, you didn't do it, you whatever, and real fast you have to like start to like get in step, or they step you out of the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah, and I ate it up. Like I guess I was thinking at one point I was going to join the Navy because I wanted to see the
Mhm.
world. And my dad thought that'd be a great idea because he was a Korean War veteran, and he
Mhm.
thought that would be a great idea. And I didn't for some reason, and because I got into this job
Mhm.
at the supermarket King's, and I just held on and held on and held on, and I finally got my discipline and my organization by going through these brigades in these kitchens. So
Hmm.
that's what it meant to me. It really had nothing to do with the food. It's about the discipline and the camaraderie that you build in
Sure.
those environments. Yeah.
Wow. So first and foremost, let me just sidestep and say, God bless and thank your dad for his
Oh,
service.
thank you.
Absolutely. And I got it. So I'm like most people. My only experience with what you're describing is watching television shows and
Ah,
series about. So I mean, what they portray is not really that far off, right? I mean, it's pretty intense back there. You have to have a very certain kind of personality to withstand that because it's intense. I mean, based on what I've seen and what you're
you
saying,
have to
yeah,
have thick skin for sure.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
can't be soft. You have to be able to take criticism. It's
Hmm.
not always constructive criticism. They come,
Right.
it's embarrassing sometimes. But I think just to go into modern times, back when I was doing it, it would be like the late '80s all the way through the '90s and all that stuff. I think around in the 2000s, things changed. So I
Mm.
don't think head chef and the owners are as what can I say, strong on everyone in the verbal kind of ways that they
Hmm.
were back then. So I think it's a much more pleasant environment. I don't know if that's good for the actual getting the best out of all your guys, but times change. So yeah, but
Yeah, we
it
live in a
was pretty
world now
hard
where
back.
everybody, right? We live in the world now where everybody has to be careful with everybody else's feelings.
Yes,
I sound like the
independent.
mean German that I am. Well, your feelings.
Right. No, but it's very true. It's very, very true. And now
Yes.
that I've moved up in the world, and I'm like an executive chef, and I'm like running. You have to be very, very conscious of what you even use, even in joking way, like because the jokes
Yes.
sometimes come aren't caught as a joke. So like you
Right.
have to just be very, yeah.
Everybody's so
Yep.
sensitive. Ugh.
Yes. Yes.
I let me go back a little bit. You, of course, mentioned, an incredibly impactful and significant moment in your life, which was September 11th. If you're willing to, if you're comfortable talking about it, tell us a little bit more about what happened to you that morning, what that experience was for you.
Yeah. Sure. 9/11 for me was, I mean, it might sound weird. Started off, well, like for many people, I guess, not weird. It started off as a great day.
Mhm.
I had recently returned back from studying and getting my master chef certification in Piemonte, Italy. I graduated with my diploma. Then I did this like stage in a Michelin star restaurant, which I was mentioning in Milano, living and working in this Michelin star, very rigid, very
Mm.
structured. The food was phenomenal and all that stuff. And when my time was up, my visa had expired, my work permit for Italy. So I had to come back home, and it was time to come home. I was married. I needed to get back home and get back into the groove with my real life. So I came back to New York. I was living in New Jersey in a town called Jersey City, which is literally Hoboken is where Frank Sinatra's from, and then Jersey
Mhm.
City. And I was living direct on the Hudson River in a 33-story building facing the World Trade Center.
Wow.
So my whole life was like facing the world. Everything you did in my area, going to the store, going to Starbucks, the whole community was based around facing the Twin Towers. That's
Mhm.
people would come and take pictures all the time, and graduation and weddings and all that stuff would happen at the end of the street. And it was just a beautiful location. And so I came back from Italy. I got my resume together and I went all through Manhattan looking for a job. And I landed like the very first real job. It was like a sous chef position. This
Mm.
restaurant was called Fiamma. It was owned by a big restaurant company called Be Our Guest Restaurant Groups in Manhattan. And they were bringing in a chef from Bologna, Italy, and they were going to open up this cool, wonderful, hip Italian restaurant. And I landed. I had to do a cooking demonstration for them, cooking tasting, and I got hired on the spot.
Wow.
So I get home, I'm all excited, and those days I didn't have a cell phone. So by the time I got home, there was a message on my machine, the answering machine, and it was them saying, congratulations once again, but your health certificate has expired since you were in
Mm.
Italy and studying and all that stuff. You need to redo it. Don't worry, we'll pay for everything, blah, blah, blah. You have three choices. You can go all the way uptown, midtown, or downtown in the World Trade Center. They give the test, and I'm like, well, it's no brainer. I live like one train stop from the World Trade Center. So we go communicate, and bottom line, fast forward 9/11, I'm supposed to go take this test.
Mm.
My wife's 3 months pregnant, and really excited about getting this job and getting things like situated with that. So 9/11, I like a good student. I leave my house early. I figure I'm going to go in, take this test, split, and then I'll come back home and go with the wife, and we'll go baby shopping or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I split. I walk out my building. As soon as you turn from my building, the World Trade Center was like right there, and I'm putting on my sunglasses, and I'm walking a gorgeous sunny day, and the sun's coming up,
Mm.
and get into the city, and I get into the mezzanine level of World Trade Center number 2, and I go all the way up to my testing site, and it's a big room, like with all like chairs and desks,
Mm.
and it was like every walk of life that works with food is coming. So you have people from high school kitchens, Michelin star kitchens, hotels. Everyone needs to take this test. Guys like me that are coming back from Europe and whatever. So it's a pretty room full of people, and I find my chair and I sit down. It's about 8:35, and no longer. I'm just getting together, taking out my stuff, getting organized, getting situated. All hell broke loose,
Mm.
and a woman came walking into our doorway. One of the women that worked there. She was dressed like in Port Authority clothes. She said that the World Trade. We heard like a noise, like something like that. But everyone's talking.
Yeah.
It was a loud room and everything's echoing, and you didn't really pay attention. But there was something that happened, and a lady came in, like I said, and she said that the trade center next to us was hit by an airplane. We're like, that's what that was.
Mm.
So many of us walked to the World Trade Center. The windows are very flat. They didn't have like
Okay.
a ledge. They were like this, so you couldn't really So you basically could look up, and when we're looking up, you could see like stuff floating in the air, coming down, and all this stuff. And then when you kind of look down, you see people all kind of glowing, like looking up. So something happened, and if she said it was a plane, we believed her. So the proctors were saying, we have to stay, we have to maintain the composure here and all this stuff, and wait for instruction to whatever. And we're like, the hell are you, buddy? I threw my stuff in my bag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
go into the hallway. A lot of us did. I wasn't the only one that
Sure.
said heck with it. And we go into the hallway, and there's hordes of people over by the elevator. So I walk over to the stairwell with the rest of my group,
Hmm.
and I open the door to the stairwell, and there was plenty of people that were saying the hell with it. They were all coming down the stairs. It was like a parade of people coming down the stairs, and I joined in. And by the time I got all the way down to the bottom floor, got across the street, looking at where we just exited and looking at this
Hmm.
burning building next to us, the number 1 World Trade. As we're sitting there trying to figure out all this, I hear a lady yell, "Oh my God, another!" Before she could say the word plane, the
Hmm.
building we just came out of was hit. So, make a long story short, without getting into the gory details, you can imagine when
Sure.
you're standing like right there.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say about 9/11, just to end it, what you hear on TV and what you see on TV, I'm not going to go into all the conspiracies and stuff, but what I like to get across is the noises. It was so horrifically loud. The sirens, the people, the screaming, the confusion, the horns
Mhm.
beeping, the cops, the fire engines, the ambulance. It was just chaos. It doesn't really
Yeah.
come across. Yeah, total chaos, like shattered. So it took me 13 hours basically to get. I lived. You could see my building from where I'm standing. It took me 13
Hmm.
hours to get home. I had no cell, no service, no anything. No one knew. Everyone knew I was going to that building that day. My parents, of course, my wife,
Yeah.
certain friends, and obviously the company knew I was in there. Uh,
Hmm.
and it took about 13 hours to get home. I get home and rekindle with my family and everything, and I'm like, yeah, just totally a different person. and
Yeah.
and and that's what changed my perspective on everything and food, because instead of making the coolest dish and the most designed
Hmm.
plate and working for these killer genius chefs and doing all this wonderful the artistic cuisine and building my artistry as a chef along the way and all this stuff, I was like, throw it out the window, dude. It doesn't mean a damn thing. These people are running into a burning building trying to save people while everybody else is running away.
Yeah.
And there's nothing heroic about, like, making a foie gras. And I didn't really think that it meant much anymore. So
Sure.
yeah, so like it was like, why
It
am I doing
changes you.
it?
Yeah.
Changed.
Yeah.
And that's where I pulled back, and I thought maybe I had a good run, and I did a lot of wonderful. Even at that point, I had a decent run, and I thought, maybe I'll get more serious and be an insurance salesman and make money and raise this daughter or son that I'm about to have, and get more
Hmm.
serious with my family life and all that. But didn't happen. We kind of recollected and we moved down to Miami to get out of, because
Mm.
the air and all that stuff was really bad,
Yeah.
and for a pregnant woman, it was really bad. So
Right.
so I had some friends that were working and living in Miami Beach, and they helped me to locate a job, and we moved down to Miami, and I kept going, and that's when I started writing the book, Cooking Inspired, that
Yeah.
we've been basically talking about here, is when I start penning that. Probably right, maybe 6 months after 9/11, I start putting it together. And
Wow.
that's how it all ties in with 9/11.
My goodness. That experience is something that most of us cannot even comprehend. And it's really like you said, witnessing it on a television screen or seeing pictures is nothing like living it. And the sights, the smells, the feelings, the fears, the
Mhm.
shock, all of it is so truly incomprehensible to the rest of us.
Yeah.
So you have this experience, which is obviously life changing. And
Uh-huh.
then you take the next incredibly life changing experience, which is leaving really everything that you have known and starting over somewhere else with, a baby on the way and all of these things. I'm so fascinated by what that writing journey of this book was like. Did you find? Let me backtrack slightly. How long did it take you to write this book? Like, how long was the process of writing it?
It was a long process,
Yeah.
because in this journey, I started to become very uh what can I say, sidetracked with other things in life that started to
Sure.
happen. When my dad got Parkinson's,
Mm.
my mom needed to have double hip transplant surgery. Eventually, my marriage fell apart, and we wound up
Mhm.
getting divorced. We still maintain, a nice relationship to raise our daughter, but like that happened. So
Mhm.
things, like what I say, do happen. So
Yeah.
so things happened, and it kind of like, but I kept coming back to it, but not like I really like Edgar
Sure.
Allan Poe, just writing everything at midnight and with a candle and banging it out.
Mhm.
It came over time, and but what really refocused me was I took a job. I got hired as the first American. I'm an Italian American guy, but I'm American. First American guy to get hired by Oceania Cruise Line, which is one of the best cruise lines in the world. It's headed by Jacques Pepin. He's like the famous French chef. You'll see him all over. Now he doesn't do as much, but he was all over with Julie Childs back in the day on
Mm.
TV. And he was the culinary director, and I got hired. I cooked for them. I got hired, and I was the first Italian guy, American guy though, to get hired to run their flagship Toscana restaurant on their ship. So it was where like everyone paid more money to go eat in this restaurant. They're already paying
Mm.
a ton of money just to be on this ship, and then they pay us to go to these exclusive restaurants. So at night, there's nothing really to do. It's not like a party mode. It's a very
Sure.
exclusive thing. So I would go back down to my cabin. I had a solo cabin, and that's when I started to say, I'm going to take out the paper and pencil again and get on this. And
Mhm.
I started using my time to formulate. When I left that contract, I think it was a 6-month contract, I had a lot of the book pretty much done. So
Wow.
then I came up and I was going to the library, reorganizing my notes. But I think the whole process, just to get to the point, I think it was probably like 8 or 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the writing journey of that book really, it was a kind of traveling through this whole experience in real time, really, in a lot
Yes.
of ways. Yeah. So when you went back and reread it, was there
Uh-huh.
anything in it that surprised you, like things that you didn't realize then that you see more clearly now?
When I what happens is when since it's and I'm sure you understand this as an author, when you're reading it, you say, oh gee, I should add this in there, or oh gee, I really shouldn't let the world know that, or oh gee, I and so you get all like that. But at the very end of everything, um which I was done with all the re-editing of the editing kind of deal. I knew in my heart that I did the best I could do. I brought everything out. I try to make it relatable for the reader, so you're not just
Mhm.
reading about like me. It could be you,
Mhm.
it could be whoever. And through the things I mentioned about getting over adversity, getting over hardship, getting past depression, anxiety, whatever your thing is in life that's bringing you down, it's in the book, so you can grab onto stuff and realize, hey, this was his journey, but this is also my journey too, in a way.
Yeah.
And coming back to the church, coming back to, we can
Mhm.
speak about spirituality, coming back to Jesus and my religion, things like that all were monumental in help, because without any recovery program or what it is, you need some sort of spirituality involved.
Right.
So that was a big, it's not just food. Food is can be very spiritual in
Mhm.
its own right. And so I added a little bit of that into the book. So there's a little element of spirituality, not too crazy, but enough for people to get what I'm saying. And,
Yeah.
and I really thought I wrote something that could be, bottom line was, I thought I wrote something that not only depicted a nice story. And I'm sharing like my story with the world. It also could be helpful to many people, and many people have told me that it's been very inspirational read, and really they were more impressed after they finished the book than before. So I guess I
Mm.
hit my mark in a way.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
That's it's absolutely beautiful, and I love that you share that part of it, because people do shy away from sharing it for fear of how other people will react and
right.
whether they'll think it's, whatever people think of
Hmm.
anything, right?
Hmm.
But when you're writing a memoir, as you well know, you are putting you out for the whole world to analyze and
Right.
dissect and interpret. And that is such a vulnerable feeling. So it's no small feat to do that, and particularly with the things that you experienced. And I love that your faith was part of all of that, because
Hmm.
I think people go in one of two directions when something truly, truly deeply traumatic happens in life, and that's the giving up on their faith if they
Right.
had it to begin with, giving up on it because they start asking all of those hard, honest, genuine questions,
Uh-huh.
or they lean harder into their faith. And if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about that for
No,
you,
of course.
when you think about 9/11, being a first-hand witness, and participant is the wrong word, but I know you know what I mean.
Right.
Um, uh, to experience that, did it shake your faith? Was it like immediate that you leaned deeper into it, or did that come over time?
I think I went through the process that you're explaining. I think I pulled away, like
Mm,
the hell with everything, the hell with my job, the hell this is just, how could this even happen? And I mean, what an act of evil! If there really was a God, this and you go through all
yeah.
that stuff. And I pulled away. I think I came back to the church. I came back to my faith. My mom is a huge churchgoer, And I mean, she
Mm.
listens to the mass every morning, and she does her rosary every morning, and she's telling me, oh, you should just step into a church and pray a little bit, or you should just go to a mass on Sunday. You'll feel better. And I'm like, that kind of stuff. And I was living in Florida, and all my family is in the New Jersey area. So I was living, in my own world, my own thing, and I don't know. I was like, you know what? Maybe because I did go to Catholic school in the beginning of my schooling in life. So I kind of that little old Catholic boy was still like inside me someplace. So I said, you know what? I really probably should. And I went in to talk to a priest. So I had said, it was Father Walsh. So I talked to Father Walsh in private in his room and explained to him this whole thing. And he tells me they have this men's Bible study, and we do all these great things, and we need a chef. We do these events, and we need someone to cook. And we did a beer and bratwurst thing and all this stuff. You would have loved it.
I love it.
Yeah, we did beer and bratwurst at the church, man. So like that reinvigorated me, and I started to realize that these are good people, and they're so helpful, and they really want to help. And Mom was basically right. I should have done this years ago, and I should have
Mhm.
stepped into the church, and I got really involved, and I religiously every Tuesday I was going to this Bible study at like 7:30 in the morning because all the men go. It's a men's group, and all the men go, then
Oh.
they go to work.
Mhm.
We had like 60 men coming to this group, and all ages, all walks of life, everything. And the Father Walsh, he was an Irish priest, so he had a real
Mhm.
Irish brogue, and it was just a wonderful experience, and that's what like re-sparked me back into the church, and I
Yeah.
shrugged off a lot of that like that I was
Mhm.
feeling, and and I can't speak more highly of it. I don't push it on people, but if you are on the cusp of maybe I shouldn't return back to whatever your faith is, I would say
Mhm.
take a plunge and try.
Yeah,
You might love.
absolutely.
Right,
That's
right.
so true. And, and the reality is, and again, and I'm right there with you. I'm not one to preach at anybody for anything. But, if you are struggling, if you do feel lost, if you have, this anger inside of you, what better place to take it,
Yeah.
than to the one who sees you and knows you and loves you.
Nail it to the
And
cross, man.
right? I
Right,
mean, oh my
right,
goodness, it is so life-changing, and I'm so
right.
with you that,
Yeah,
if anybody would ask me, that's where I would direct them all to. And, and
yeah.
they say, "What proof do you have?" Well, I'm sitting across from it right now. You went
Ah,
through the darkest times and the darkest things that can break people, that
yeah.
truly do break people,
Mhm.
break their spirit and break their hope and their faith and all of those things. And you're somebody who made a different choice. And I love that it led you to write this book and to share this journey and to share the hope that you have
Well,
and the
thanks so
peace
much.
that you found. No, thank you, and I think anybody who reads your book will thank you as well. It's beautiful. Talk to me a little bit about the subtitle. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but the subtitle is "Design Your Dish, Design Your Life."
Not your life.
Explain that philosophy a little bit.
Well, it's kind of like a tag that I came up with. I don't know, a long time ago. I was making a website, and the web designer said, we'll put your website together, but you should have some sort of like a tagline on your website.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I don't know if I have any idea for a tagline. So I stewed on it for a long time, and somehow I was reading a book. It was something about the like journey of this Michelin star chef, and how his artistry grew as he went through all these Michelin kitchens in Europe, and then he became like this artist and blah blah. Now he makes the most beautiful design dishes, and that's just where I put them somehow. And then I was like, maybe design your dish, but like instead of designing your dish, like we get like as chefs or food oriented people, we get so into like the most beautiful. Like you say, your grandma was very into like the beautiful presentation, maybe
Mm-hmm.
setting a gorgeous table, and
Yeah.
we get all into all this stuff, and maybe if we took such that meticulousness of cooking that you need to have when
Mm-hmm.
you're cooking at that high level, and put it into our life that's messy, maybe we can like organize and make something beautiful simultaneously here, rather than just feeding people and making them happy and you're still miserable inside. So that was how Design Your Dish, Design Your Life came to be.
What a phenomenal bridge
Yeah,
to
that's how it came to be.
create, right? Like it's such a phenomenal bridge
Yeah.
to create with that, because I see it as you're explaining it. I'm visualizing, I'm seeing it in my head, how those two things could be married together and just correlate.
Yeah,
It's
word.
it truly does. What do you feel your purpose is? Like, do you feel like being a chef, having this skill was part of your purpose? Like, do you see it that way? I'm just curious.
I think, I mean, I fell into food, like I said, because I was literally like lifted up out of my world and dropped into it by my parent, my dad.
Yeah.
So like, I feel that there was something there. I was studying, like, even though in those days you're going to college, you're not going to college, you're taking class, whatever I was doing,
Hmm.
and I was studying to be a social worker. So I think I made much more of an impact with what I eventually started to do in terms of like, not only did I touch people in my local area, I touched people in the States. I even reached people now outside of the country. I'm going to the Frankfurt Book Show
Mm.
in October, and my book is going to be there. So I mean, they're thinking about like, hey, maybe we'll do it in German, maybe we'll do it in this language, maybe we'll do it in that language. So I mean, it's as far beyond anything I ever thought I was doing when I was writing this book. I
It's
was just
so
trying to make a
incredible.
legacy, and I figured, well, I'll just write a book and I'll print it and I'll leave it to give a copy to my mom and my daughter and this and that.
Hmm.
It turned out to be this much bigger thing. So yeah, I think
Wow.
yeah.
I'm so happy for you. Your
Thanks.
daughter must be so proud of you.
Yeah, she's kind of like amazed because she never really like knew that part of me. She knows me as dad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't sit down and talk to my kid about all this. That's stuff like you really don't even want them to know.
Sure.
But whatever. I mean, she's old now. It's not like she's a kid. She's a grown up
Right.
adult. So yeah,
What you mentioned the word legacy, and of course that's the first thing I thought of as you were talking about it, and you mentioned your daughter. Like, what a legacy that you gave to her. You gave her
mm,
that, you gave her the ability to know her parent, her dad, in such a different way, which is something you don't appreciate until you're an adult, until you're
right,
older and you have children of your own.
right,
To know, as somebody with parents and grandparents with just such a storied life experience, to know their stories is so powerful. And when I was a kid, a teenager, it wouldn't even cross my mind to want to know these things. So leaving
right.
that legacy, and for your future grandchildren, for them to have that part of you is such a treasure. So so glad for you that you
Very
did that.
appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me shift gears slightly for a minute. I got to ask you about you spent so much time in Italy and around the world, really. Without asking you to be, because I'm thinking that we're definitely less cultured than other parts of the world in the culinary sense.
Okay.
Is there a significant difference between how Americans view food and how Europeans, for example?
Well, I think the main thing, the biggest thing, that the Europeans view Americans as basically unhealthy eaters.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that my brother is a health food nut, so he wouldn't fit into that category.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's definitely, but I think what it comes really down to is the ingredients. There are certain things, certain ingredients that Europeans have marked like, not usable in their
Yeah.
in making their bread and making their products and making their pastries that we actually do allow here because it's cheaper, it's more efficient, it gives more shelf life. I mean, bread shouldn't sit on the shelf for a week and still be good.
Right.
Obviously, there's something wrong with that.
Yes.
And we were kids, we would have like Wonder Bread with peanut butter and jelly, and the thing would be there for like 8 days, and it gets
Mm-hmm.
smaller, and smaller. And you would just,
So true.
it's not supposed to be that way.
Right.
So you go to Europe within like 2 days, the bread is hard as a rock because
Mm-hmm.
it's stale. So these are the things that are much different. It's the ingredients. It's what we allow. The FDA here is much more lax
Hmm.
compared to whatever their FDAs are over there. And this is where the big difference is. So when people come from Europe and they come here for vacation stuff, they're blown away. They can't believe how much different the food is. And I think us as Americans, when we go there, we always say, "Oh my God, the food in Italy was so awesome. The food in Germany was so awesome. The food in France." It is. It is
It
awesome.
is. It's
Yeah.
simply, yeah,
Yeah. It
absolutely.
really is.
And I always say, eat like a European. You want to be
Yeah.
healthy, eat like a European. There
Like
you go.
and one last thing I'll say is they don't eat these humongo portions.
Right.
So, like, I'll mention Italy for example. 'Cause I take groups of people to Italy, and I have a tour company and all that stuff. But you get pasta, for example. You get
Hmm.
a little bowl of pasta, like enough for maybe like an appetizer portion of pasta. Here we get a bowl of pasta. I mean, it's like you get like half the box of pasta.
Leftovers for a week. Yeah.
Yeah, they look at that like absolutely absurd. And it is.
It
The
is.
carbohydrates and calories are just through the roof.
Right.
And that's not supposed to be your meal. Like you're after you have your pasta, then you're having your ossobuco or having your chicken or having your whatever.
Hmm.
That's just like a little starter thing. Here
Right.
it's like your main course. You're not supposed to eat so much pasta at one shot. So
What? Darn it. That's
yeah,
the
I
problem.
know.
Oh,
Right. And you're talking to a guy that, like, as a kid, that was that was dinner, like a big bowl of
yes.
pasta.
I
Yeah.
love pasta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, me too.
Pasta's my
I love to
weakness.
make
That's
pasta.
that's my
Yeah,
kryptonite.
it is. It is. After that, you have to
Absolutely.
go running or jogging or something, right?
Yes. You mentioned your tours, Tavola?
Tavola
Tavola.
Tours. Yeah, exactly.
Tavola
Yeah.
Tours. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me about that because that sounds absolutely amazing. Tell me all about it, please.
Well, okay, thank you. So I started a tour company right in 2017. People were asking me, people like on my Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, were saying, "Hey, do you do tours? Would you take a group? We see your own." And my mother, believe it or not, she was a Spanish and Italian teacher in our local high
Mm.
school, and then she also taught at the community college Spanish and Italian for like a part-time job. So she used to take students to Italy and France and Spain and all this stuff with the school. And when we were kids, we had nowhere to stay on the summer vacation. So we would go with her. We'd be like 12, 13 years old, going with mom with
Mm.
this group. So it really got me into it. It got me into it, but I didn't think of it as a career. But years later, when people started to bring it up, I said, you know what? I probably could do this. I just sit down, I'll talk to mom, I'll get some ideas
Hmm.
and I'll put some stuff together. And I did my first tour to the Amalfi Coast in
Mm.
2017. I posted it on my Facebook page, and I swear to you, within like 3, 4 weeks, I had like a full tour.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't have a group, I didn't have anything. I just had people that were like basically jonesing to go to Italy.
Sure.
So I did a beautiful tour, and then after that, those people started to say, "Well, when you go again to another location, please let us know. My sister and her family would love to go. We loved it. It was so wonderful. It was better than the other tours we've done in Italy, and it's so nice to go with the chef. You're a very approachable guy. We can ask questions, and it was just really so whatever. Long story short, it grew. So now Tavola Tours, if you ever want to check it out, it's just www.tavolatours.com. We're going now to Puglia, the heel
Mhm.
of the boot. We're going in
Mhm.
September.
That is
So
so exciting.
yeah, and we
Oh
have
my
a
goodness.
beautiful group. We're going to go to olive groves. We're going to go to two wineries. We have two awesome cooking class. That's the home land of Orchietti pasta. Speaking of pasta, so that's where Orchietti comes from, and that's where it's famous. And they have very famous breads. Speaking of breads, they're known for their breads and focaccia. So we're going to have a bread and focaccia class, so people can
Oh
go
my
back to the
goodness.
states and kind of make their own homemade bread and focaccias if they want. And then we have a beach day. We're on a resort. The weather there is still nice in September. It'll be like high 70s, low 80s every day.
Oh.
So you could still go hang on the beach. You could still hang at
Hmm.
the pool. So we have. So these are the kind of tours I do, and It's all culinary and cultural, educational, and I put them together, but then I turn it over to the experts there. You have your experts that guide you through everything, and I'm there just to facilitate.
My
That's
husband is going to be so mad at you
tell him to go.
because I'm going to tell him today, like, guess what we're doing?
Yeah, I
Guess
better
what
hope
we're going to
so.
do?
That'd be great.
Oh, that truly, all the joking aside, I'm not even joking, but that sounds so incredible. What an experience to offer to people like myself who have always wanted to do. I've never been to Italy. I've never been to Europe,
You have to.
and I have not.
Yeah,
So. I absolutely have to, and
yeah.
that is coming down the road. But
Cool.
what stops me and probably other people like me is we don't know where to go. We don't know what to do. So we have to like rely on somebody that we don't really know to tell us where to go.
Right.
And here you are putting together this absolute dream of a package together. The only thing I would say for me, not for somebody else, is can I just watch you guys cook the food and then eat what you
Yeah,
make?
people do that. There's plenty. There's been
Oh,
people that are like, no, I'm not really into cooking, but like, don't worry, and I'll hang out and take pictures, and they just there's always like one or two people that, yeah,
I know I'm that jerk. I'm
you
that
know,
jerk that just wants to eat everybody's hard work.
it's fine. People definitely do that. Yeah, and some of them that weren't into it at the end they say, I really didn't think I was going to like it, but I really love making that orecchiette with my finger, and
Oh,
so
see?
you never know. Like you might
All
get
right.
pulled
I
into
would
it
do
as
it.
you stay.
I would do it. I would be a big girl and do it. Oh my, that sounds so amazing. I can't. Oh my goodness. Tell everybody the website again. What's the website
It's
for that again?
Tavola Tours, and it's
Tavola Tours.
www.tavola, Tavola tours.com.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. So after surviving what you survived and living the life that you've lived since that, which is such a big, full, beautiful life, what do you know about life today that the younger Franco absolutely did not understand?
I think the advice, so to speak, what I would give my younger self would be
Mm.
not to get so hung up on all the little things. Like there's so
Yeah.
many little things in life that you get hung up on. Like, you're bummed that you didn't get this job, or you're bummed that this relationship did. And then these are all very serious things to be bummed out over, but don't take so long to get back moving again. Like
Mm.
life is going by, and I like many people spend a lot of time licking my wounds rather than going back into life. And I would say, spend your time, heal, and then get back into the game and be happy, be jubilant about the fact that you're still going, you're still alive. There's plenty of opportunities, and there's plenty of things that'll come your way, and brush yourself off and get out there. And that's kind of like what I would tell myself.
Yeah, and honestly, that is truly one of the best bits of advice that you could receive. Anybody, any one of us could receive, because it's so true. Life is so short. It is so
Mhm.
fragile, and
Yeah,
to spend your time, like you said, to use your words, licking your wounds
right.
and just dwelling on things that don't benefit you, that don't move your life forward, right?
Yeah, right.
Is it's such a waste. And I think people who experience truly profound life-changing experiences, 9/11, cancer diagnosis,
Right.
life and death situations, that they are truly some of the most blessed people on the planet if
Agreed.
they
Agreed.
understand what you understand, what you know.
There you go.
Tell everybody where they can find your books and your website and all of that good
My
stuff.
book is available online at Barnes and Noble. So you can just go Barnes and Noble and put in cooking inspired, and boom, you can order it anywhere in the States. They'll send it to you, in Canada. Like I said, I'm going to the Frankfurt Book Show in October, and hopefully then, therefore, we'll reach the European market. I could tell you then where those people could find it. I don't know right now. And
Mhm.
my personal website, if you want recipes, if you want to see some great inspirational videos for cooking, I was in Palermo about 2 months ago, and I did some cooking in my apartment there. Went to a beautiful outdoor market. You can see all that stuff on my
Mm.
personal page, it's Franco, Franco, Lania, like my name on the screen here, LANIA.com. And
Beautiful.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. This was such a joy. I loved talking with you so much and hearing your story. Thank you so much for
It
sharing
was
all
a
of
true
that.
pleasure. I really appreciate it.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. All right, everybody, you will have all of those links in the show notes. So you'll be able to click right on them, get right to them. I know that tour is going to get booked up before I can get to it.
Oh, please.
Fine, people, be that way.
Right.
Oh, but thank you again. And I just wish you the most tremendous success in everything that you do.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Ciao. Ciao, everybody. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
You've got a story worth sharing. Now it's time to tell it well. Whether you're an author, entrepreneur, influencer, or podcast guest, stepping in front of the camera or microphone can feel overwhelming. On the other side of the mic is your practical, encouraging guide to becoming a confident, authentic, and engaging interviewee. Written by media personality and best-selling author Elsa, this book blends real-world wisdom from hundreds of interviews with a touch of humor, grace, and heart. It's more than a how-to. It's a roadmap to presence, professionalism, and peace in every conversation.